And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Looking at Tuesday morning's flying weather graphic, got a couple areas of IFR, one up here over the Kobuk Valley, back out, actually more around the Selawik area on Kotzebue, on up along the northwest coast, and another one here, eastern Norton Sound, down across the northern Kuskokwim Valley in toward western Cook Inlet, and quite an area of marginal VFR extending into the north coast of the Panhandle, up into the north central interior to the Brooks Range with VFR for the north slope and Arctic coast. VFR Kodiak Island, marginal VFR out here over the Bering Sea in along the southwest coast to just on the south coast of St. Lawrence Island. A little bit of a break here, central Aleutian. In fact, the Aleutians here, VFR all the way out to about Amchitka, and then the next system pushing some IFR up toward the western Aleutians. And that kind of pushes, or actually slides eastward here, not quite making it to Adak. Marginal VFR eastward now to Nikolsky, Pribilof's marginal VFR all the way up to St. Lawrence Island and along the southwest coast. Central interior, IFR, mostly VFR up to the north. And marginal VFR, Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, and along the North Gulf Coast, but from about Yakutat on down, good VFR. That holds into Thursday morning. VFR, southeast coast, right up across the Copper River Basin. A little bit of marginal VFR here for Cook Inlet into Knik and Turnagain Arms, and most of the Kenai Peninsula becoming VFR, though, for Homer on down to Kodiak, Bristol Bay. And a band of IFR here, kind of narrow, but from St. Lawrence Island down to close to Nunivak Island, right across the Pribilofs, and IFR here, Adak, Atka, on out to the west. And then for the afternoon, this area, as you can see, kind of thickens and pushes a little bit to the east, but doesn't make it to the southwest coast. Does push into Nunivak Island and extends northward to the Bering Strait, as you can see here. IFR for the eastern Aleutians and the western Alaska Peninsula, and then IFR extending across the central Aleutians. IFR in the north central interior and along the western Brooks Range with VFR, Kenai Peninsula, and the southeast coast. Passes, Anatuvik and Adigan. Occasional VFR, occasional marginal VFR. Could be some VFR as well at times tomorrow for both passes. And for Lake Clark and Merrill, occasional marginal VFR there, a little lower for Rainy, so I'll go IFR for both Rainy and Windy, as well as Isabel. And Mentasta, all looking to be IFR at some point in the day tomorrow. And then for Tanita, back to VFR. And Portage, marginal VFR. Chilkoot and White, VFR. Freezing levels here, not much to look at, 2,000 feet down over the extreme southern southeast coast there. Otherwise, the surface here now back north of the Aleutians, still south of the Alaska Peninsula, and up along or just south of the North Gulf Coast. Icing, a zone out here with that upper low here over the northern Bering Sea, extending southward down to the eastern Aleutians. Mostly just isolated moderate icing with that feature, and then quite a band of isolated moderate icing possible here over much of the central eastern interior, extending back across the northwest coast, Kotzebue up to about Point Lay, and this area mostly now north and east of the southeast coast. And the jet stream showing southerly winds at about 65 knots along the eastern border there, and south-southwest 65 in northern Panhandle. Westerlies coming around this low over the Bering Sea here at about 65 knots with the strongest jet core actually just south of the Aleutians, grazing Adak and Atka there. And for 9,000 feet, 65 knot winds blowing around this low center here over the western, or just west of St. Matthew Island. Otherwise pretty light for the Aleutians here with weak high pressure over the Alaska Peninsula, light variable winds there. Light winds over interior Alaska, Gulf of Alaska, and the southeast coast. 3,000 feet, light winds over all of the interior here into the Gulf of Alaska and the southeast coast. Brisk easterlies, though, just grazing the Arctic coast there at 40 to 45 knots. And then the low here in the Bering Sea, southwest turning south and southeast, about 45 knots here around that center, strongest on the eastern quadrant of that system. and another low pushing 35-knot winds in towards Shimei and Attu. As far as turbulence goes, look for occasional moderate turbulence for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast there. Also for St. Lawrence Island, but pretty smooth elsewhere around the state.